The one thing I wanted to hit sort of real quick before we get to the longer conversation with you, Kenny, just because we were talking about it in the car, is your thoughts on some of this MVP discourse? Because there's been a lot of it, and we got two really good options, and I don't know there's a right answer, so I'm just curious your perspective.
I don't know, man. I'm legitimately one of those guys who's like, let's see what these last 5 weeks have to show. Usually don't call a fight this early. You know, I think both of these dudes, we saw the odds shift from day to day. You know, you had the 30-20-20 game from Jokic, and then they go against OKC and Shai drops 40, then it's back on Shai, and then they have the rematch, and then Jokic has 38 in the rematch, so now it's back on Jokic. I feel like we might yo-yo the entire way. If you ask me today, the season were to end, my vote is probably Jokic again, man. It's probably Jokic again.
Okay, I think Malone made a really good point that if you just take faces away, put the numbers up, put the impact up, it's really, really hard to debate against Jokic. But I think the two things that are going against him are, one, voter fatigue, which we can't deny is a thing in professional sports. Two is Shai is a point guard on arguably the league's best team having a historical season, statistically. So when you compare the two, do statistics even matter that much? Or is it like, is there some credence given to just, not that Jokic doesn't have the impact, because he obviously does, but is there some credence given to that impact in the manner in which Shai does it and how it contributes to his team's success overall?
Do you think or how much of a factor do you think the Thunder are the youngest team in the NBA? You know, they have the best record in the West by 5 or 6 games or whatever it is right now. They've had a lot of injuries. You know, this hasn't been a team that's been, fully healthy all year. They're incredibly deep. They've always done a great job building that roster. But just where they are and what he's done over the last 2 years in terms of like, this is not, a 4 and a 5 seed making this comp. This is if the season ended today, that's probably the favorite to go to the finals out of the West. And so that, when you look at where this roster was a couple of years ago, how much should that matter?
I think it should matter a lot. I do. And I think that's part of the point I was trying to make, is that like while they have a really talented roster, he is the engine that makes them go, and he has elevated them to this level. Like MVP is most valuable player, and both of them have a very legitimate case, but Shai's been great this year.
What's your perspective? I've heard this, we've talked about a little bit on the show, but we haven't done this with Kenny. Your perspective, you got a scout for both those guys. You just played the Thunder a couple weeks ago. What are you looking at with those two players?
In terms of how we can stop them?
You're not going to stop them fully.
How we can slow them down?
How you are going to approach guys like that and how they control the game.
I think for us, the strategy against Shai was just get the ball out of his hand as much as possible and hope that in that process he gets frustrated.
Yeah.
Hope that he wants to just, maybe try to, make it harder for him to get 20 and see if that adds a little bit of perturbations to their team and disrupt their rhythm and their chemistry. They scored a lot of points on us, and we kept it kind of close. We had a good fight with them.
It was a great game.
Yeah, we were up, we were winning. We had some success, but ultimately didn't come away with the win. But I think that was our idea, was just he's very good at controlling the pace of the game and manipulating and kind of get into his spots really whenever he wants. So our idea was just, let's make it hard on him.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that's like the approach come postseason as well. Like if you think about what happened last year when they went up in that Dallas series, Shai was still Shai, but some of the others around him weren't able to pick it up as much as you would want them to. And they were, 2 shots away from winning that series. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the approach, because J-Dub is phenomenal. But if you're an opposing coach, I would assume you'd rather the ball be in his hands versus with Shai.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see what Coach Mark Dayton does as far as like getting Shai going without the ball, if that is the approach that the opposing coach is going to do.
Yeah, it seems like it would make sense, would be to like kind of force the roster as a whole to beat you, and I think that's what a lot of playoff basketball does, but I'm very interested to see how these strategies develop.
Is 30-20-20 just as crazy as it seems?
Even more crazy than you think, which is why it sounds crazy that I'm sitting here and I'm trying to make an argue contrary, because realistically, what he's been able to do, he had a triple. Did he have a triple double in each half?
It went to overtime. So someone did the math. So the second half
and overtime, it was a triple double as its own, and the first half was its own.
Yeah,
like guys, I played in a lot of NBA games. Like I believe, and what he did, just 20 rebounds and 20 assists. Like I'm trying to get that in
Yeah.
two
You're a very eloquent guy. You don't have a lot of words to describe.
I'm trying to get 20 rebounds and 20 assists in a week, in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? No, I mean, it's crazy. And he does it effortlessly, which might work against him, honestly, is that like, he does it so effortlessly, like nonchalant, just like I could do it again, you know? But it doesn't get enough attention for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And honestly, this is a good problem for the league to have. Because they both keep we obviously had a great weekend with the two of them, but they both keep upping their case, you know. And so I agree with you, Kenny. It's like let this play out a little bit. I don't know why it's March 12th today. I don't know why we need to decide this right now.
Yeah,
but
give us some time.